Good morning. The New Forest was established by William the Conqueror in 1079 as a royal hunting ground. Since then, the New Forest has played its part in many historical events, and there are still numerous sites today where we can see evidence of this rich historical heritage. In this video, we visit 5 of these sites. Some are well known, others less so. The first site is one of the well-known sites, the Rufus Stone. You'll find this signposted off of the A31 between Cadnam and Ringwood. The Rufus Stone commemorates the death of King William Rufus in the year 1100. He was killed by an arrow while out hunting. This was allegedly shot by a lord called Walter Tyrrell. Was it an accident, or was it deliberate? Many historians think it was deliberate, as William's younger brother Henry promptly seized the throne and became Henry I. There's a pub here too, called, not surprisingly, the Walter Tyrrell, so it's a good spot to visit and then pop in for lunch. The what 3 words location for the Rufus Stone car park is handy.newlywed.sped, and I've included that in the text below. Our second site is not at all well known, and you could walk past it without realising it's there. Lots of people do this every day. It's a concrete arrow. During the Second World War, a large valley called Ashley Walk in the forest was fenced off to keep the free-roaming ponies out. This valley became a bombing range, used to train the bomber pilots. Various targets were built around the valley, and we'll come back to those in another video. At the bottom of the valley, an illuminated target was set up to enable the bombers to practice day and night bombing. Halfway up the valley, a large arrow was built to point the bombers towards the target. We're going to see if we can find that arrow. If you would like to try this, take the track out from Fritham towards Frogham. You'll walk through the forest and then you'll find yourself in the open valley of Ashley Walk. Here we are on the Ashley Walk track. The arrow is very easy to miss. We missed it twice in the summer when the bracken and the undergrowth were growing tall. We've come back today in March and found it quite easily. This is the concrete arrow up ahead of us. Here it is. You get some idea of the scale of the arrow when you compare it to Edith, the miniature schnauzer. The arrow points towards the target at the bottom of the valley. There's nothing left of that target now to see though. The arrow was illuminated for night bombing exercises using a diesel generator and spotlights. Surprisingly, there's no signage here to explain the background to the arrow and why it's here. I suspect that 99 out of 100 people that walk along the Ashley Walk track walk past this place without even knowing that the arrow's here and the part that it played in Britain's history. The what 3 words location for the illuminated arrow is digestion.films.treat. Our third site is also a World War II site and is another site which is not well known to visitors to the forest. This is the Canadian War Memorial. In the months leading up to the invasion of Normandy in June 1944, the New Forest saw a huge influx of troops from various nations. Among these were troops from Canada. The The Canadian 3rd Infantry were one of the battalions who arrived in the area in early 1944. Their chaplain looked around for somewhere to hold religious services for the men and found the site that we're walking towards here. This is Mogshade Hill, a scenic place with views over the hills and nearby Highland water. The chaplain bolted together 2 pine logs to make a cross, erecting it next to a fence, and placed an altar covered in the Canadian flag in front of it. Men stood down the slope facing the altar, and as it has a sharp drop behind it, it gave them an inspiring outlook over the forest. The site was used for services from April 1944 until they left for the D-Day invasion in June. The Canadians landed at Juno Beach in the first hours of the assault and suffered many casualties. The site is now surrounded by a wooden fence. The original wooden cross has been replaced by a cross made from new forest oak with a plaque to act as a memorial to the Canadian soldiers who had worshipped here. The Canadian War Memorial can be found on the A31 leading from Emery down. The What 3 Words location is undercuts.hypocrite.wishing. Our 4th suggestion for you to visit is more well known. This is Buckler's Hard. This is a lovely village that sits alongside the Beaulieu River. Although people live and work here, Buckler's Hard today is mainly a tourist attraction. It's hard to believe that this was once an important shipbuilding yard, with contracts to build ships for the Royal Navy. The original chapel is still here, and it's open to visitors. Next door is a shipworker's cottage, and we can see how the family would have lived 200 years ago. Just one bedroom with all the family sleeping together. The parents' bed has some curtains to give them a bit of privacy. There's a hotel and pub here, and also a museum, where you can explore the history of Buckler's Hard. This model in the museum shows us what the village would have looked like 250 years ago. We can see lengths of wood, mainly oak, everywhere, as of course the ships here were made from wood, much of which came from the New Forest. All built by hand, no power tools. Shipbuilding died out here when ships started to be made of iron, in the 19th century. Entry to Buckler's Hard is free, but you do need to pay for parking. There's also a charge to go into the museum. I've made a longer video of Buckler's Hard, and there should be a link at the top of the page now, and also in the text below. The What 3 Words location for the Buckler's Hard car park is elects.bookcases.cavalier. Our 5th site is very popular. It's Lepe Beach, near the mouth of the Beaulieu River. Whilst the beach is well known, the part that it played during World War II is not so widely known. This was a D-Day embarkation point for troops and vehicles, but it was much more than that. If you walk eastwards along the beach, you'll come to an area which was a hive of activity from 1942 onwards. In front of us there's a concrete track. This was the access road to the embarkation area. Looking out to sea, we can see what looks like the remains of a pier. In fact, it's the end of a land drain. Next to the land drain we can see 2 structures called dolphins. These form part of the pier, which was used to load ships departing for Normandy. They're thought to be the only 2 dolphins left in the country. If we look down on the beach, we can see a number of concrete squares that look like blocks of chocolate. These were hardening mats, which were linked together and laid across the beach to form a solid slipway for the tanks and other vehicles to be driven onto the landing craft. The sea's obviously thrown them round a bit in the intervening 80 years. These huge bollards were used to tie up the ships as they were being loaded. There's an information board here which gives you a lot of information on what went on here during World War II. This was also one of the sites used to manufacture parts of the Mulberry harbours. These were huge temporary portable harbours developed during the Second World War to facilitate the rapid offloading of cargo and men during the Allied invasion of Normandy in June 1944. Two prefabricated harbours were taken in sections across the English Channel and assembled off Omaha Beach and Gold Beach. Here at Lepe, 6 of the huge hollow concrete supporting sections for the Mulberry harbours were built in early 1944. These were known as caissons. The base where the caissons were built is still here today and runs for 374 metres. The 6 caissons were all built at the same time and were launched into the sea by May 1944, then towed up Southampton Water to be finished. We can also still see the concrete slipways where the caissons were launched into the sea. If you visit Arromanches in Normandy, you can still see the sections of the Gold Beach Mulberry Harbour, and you can imagine the scale of the task to tow sections of the harbour over from southern England and piece it together in wartime conditions off the coast of Normandy. Lepe Beach is also the site of the first oil pipeline from England over to France after D-Day. This project was known as Project Pluto, pipeline under the ocean, or pipeline underwater transportation of oil. Take your pick. This was designed to supply fuel from storage tanks in southern England to the Allied armies in France. The first pipeline laid went under the sea from here to the Isle of Wight, then from Shanklin on the Isle of Wight under the English Channel to Cherbourg, the nearest point of France to southern England. These short film clips from the Imperial War Museum show the pipeline coiled around a huge drum, which was towed behind a tug. The drum revolved at the same rate as forward speed, enabling the pipeline to be unwound and laid on the bed of the English Channel. In total, 17 pipes were laid from the Isle of Wight to France after D-Day. If you visit Lepe Beach and investigate these wartime reminders, spend some time pondering the part that the people here played in helping the war effort during World War II, and thank them for their efforts. The What 3 Words location for the D-Day Memorial at Lepe Beach is flexibly.permit.casino. So there's 5 places in the New Forest, some well known, some not so well known, where you can still see pieces of the forest's rich history. The next video will reveal more locations across the forest that have played their part over the centuries. There's also more information in the text below. I hope you found this video interesting. If you have, please subscribe to our channel to see more videos all about living in the New Forest. Thanks for watching.